G'day everyone, back with another SlaughterMAX demo today. This time it's Skindustrial Sector 4 by Spectre01. You may recognise the map author's name if you caught Casino's live stream where he suffered through Quantum Strike Map 3. Thankfully this map isn't nearly quite as mean as Quantum Strike was. It does have a couple tricky fights, but the main difficulty definitely comes from the length. In the end I was able to save nearly 40 minutes over Spectre's record, which I'm quite happy with. You could shave off another few minutes just from executing the finale better, even more if you played more aggressively in a few sections. I think sub 50 minutes is probably possible, but my goal time is under an hour, so I'm more than happy with this for now. Anyway, let's get into it. Alright, push down the starting corridor, there's 60 health bonuses we can pick up there. Grab the items and just wait. There's 4 Cyberdemons in this central kind of pillar. They will make your life hell for quite a while until they get crushed a bit later. We don't shoot until just before we're about to pick up the rocket launcher, just so that we can delay the first archvile from teleporting in. Fortunately, the second archvile can be quite slow to teleport in. The teleport closet is only wide enough for one enemy at a time, and the Hell Knights can be quite lazy in coming out, so it's a little bit RNG in terms of how quickly you can get that first vial killed. Second vial are usually just SSG. There's a lot of Spectres in this arena, and it's very easy to face rocket you if you try and kill the second vial with rockets. By the time you've managed to kill the first vial, the Spectres have usually had a chance to get over to you. So now I'm just clearing up a couple of enemies that are going to be a little bit annoying and ones that aren't likely to die to infighting. And then I push in to clear this arachnotron out and hit these switches. One of the switches will raise up the mancubus on the pillar behind us. We don't need to hit that immediately, but we want to hit that before we leave. Forgetting which switch I hadn't pressed yet. After at least one of the mancubuses is dead, we can push up and trigger a trap in this section. There is a vial up there in a cage that's quite nasty. There's not really much cover up there, so you pretty much have to drop down as soon as you trigger the trap, because I think it's about 4 revenants and 4 chain gunners, if I recall. And yeah, there's just no way to clear them all out while still dodging the vial at the top. One thing I'll say about this map is it does a very good job at forcing you to play from low elevations against enemies that you don't quite always have a good visual on, which can be quite a bit of a pain. So anyway, restock on health. I'm just running up the stairs there to try and bait a Cyberdemon rocket to hit those imps. It's not critical that the Cybers kill the imps, but it is worthwhile doing if you can spare the time. Now you can get sniped by those Cyberdemons even while you're up here. It's pretty rare. There's a very close angle that they need to be able to hit you there, but it can happen, so I always kind of keep one eye on them. Alright, so we're almost done with this first area. There's still a bunch of stuff left in the room, but we don't need to worry about it at the moment. We're just going to push on and move to the next couple of fights. So down here we've just got a Hell Knight in front of us and a Baron behind us. Kill the Hell Knight first because you can kill him quicker. And it's important that you don't kill the Baron out in that room. He doesn't always cooperate, but you want him to push into this room because there's an archvile out here. You don't want him rezzing the Baron. Silly getting zapped there. I thought I was safe, but clearly not. Run in and trigger this trap and quickly get out. Usually you don't need to worry about using plasma there, but it's always important to have it ready. There's a couple of Spectres on your right and 2 Revenants on your left. And yeah, if you get trapped in there and you don't have your plasma out, you're dead. So always good to have it out for those kind of situations. Clear out these cage chain gunners. And I had forgotten that there was also a Revenant that I need to clear out behind me. Thankfully he didn't damage me. And there's some chain gunners in the kind of in the wall behind us there, but usually you can just ignore them at the start, kill them once the walls come down. Vile behind him can be a little bit of a pain if he's just constantly resurrecting the same chain gunner and not giving you a chance to damage him, but not too difficult this time. Alright, so I want to fill up on health and open up the first secret, supercharge and some rockets, which is going to be quite useful for the next fight. And the mega armor as well. And yes, we need the partial invis. As you can see, quite a lot of chain gunners here. And there's two vials in behind them. You need to be very careful about face rocketing yourself here. Where I'm standing is, it's not a great place to hide, but it's kind of the best place that you've got available. At least until you can push in and clear out the vials close range. But yeah, you don't really want to play any further forward than that, because then you're likely to get sniped by one of the cybers rather. We just want to clear out these guys. Now, you'll notice that all of the revenants up on the cliff there are dead. That's extremely lucky. The cybers are very bad at infighting with those revenants. There's basically no way to bait it out consistently. Sometimes you just get lucky and they infight. There is... I did play around with using the partial invis to try and bait rockets from them, from the cybers to hitting the revenants, but there's no way that I found to be able to do that consistently. So yeah, it's just one of those things where if it happens, you're very lucky, and then you don't need to waste time and rockets clearing up the revenants. But yeah, not something that you can plan on. So we drop down in this pit. I clear out the arachnotrons and the revenants. You don't want to go up into the middle kind of section right next to the blood wall, because that'll start the next fight, and we want to clear these revenants out first. I don't think I mentioned it, but I jumped down and grabbed a hazmat suit before coming into this section. Not, critical, but it's worthwhile. It means that if something goes wrong here and you have to switch to plasma, then you're not going to be running out of hazmat suit. You've still got 2 left in the room to use. Now, depending on how low health you come in here, you might potentially want to grab the mega early. I like trying to leave it for as late as possible, and try and preserve as much of the mega as possible for the next fight. The next fight is 90% of the time easy, but it does have a chance of going quite wrong, which I'll explain when we get there. But yeah, it's the more mega you can preserve through this fight, the better off you're going to be, and the safer you are going to be in the next fight. So these 2 revs up top, they don't spawn until we start this fight. They're pretty easy to ignore most of the time. It's just a case of being aware of what angles they've got on you. But yeah, once the imps are under control, I like to clear them out. So eventually that wall will come down. It's on a timer. Usually it's not a particularly tight timer unless you have to switch to the plasma really early when you're clearing the imps. But yeah, you just need to be ready for it. There's 3 vials outside there that will push in. I like to stand as far back as possible, killing the spider mastermind. It can be a little bit annoying if you're standing too close. Number 1, you're going to get damaged by the spider mastermind. And number 2, auto aim is going to put half your plasma into a wall. So if you stand far back and just use mouse aim to align yourself, then it's pretty straightforward. Hit this switch and quickly jump onto the lift, and you can catch it while it rides up. Otherwise you have to wait until it's finished rising and activate it to come up again. Got another bit of good luck there with the cybers also infighting the Hell Knights on that cliff. That's much less of a time save, but it's still nice when it happens. So we jump down here, aggro this archvile with Splash and kill him before we start the fight. And the fight starts when we run over the individual rockets in the middle. So I'd first of all just kill this 1 chain gunner and then work on the double chain gunner archvile pillar. And once they're all dead, you're safe. Now there's quite a lot of Spectres, Pinkies, and behind them Revs. Generally, you can just sit in this spot and spam rockets, and enemies won't come close to you. Every now and then, though, you get a little bit unlucky with the pathing. Some enemies will manage to sneak around the pillar that I'm firing rockets in between and come around on the left-hand side, and then you've got enemies coming at you from two directions. You've got plenty of ammo here, and really from this point on, ammo doesn't really become a problem. It's only kind of the first couple of sections that you need to be a little bit conservative with rockets and cells. But yeah, you can switch to cells whenever you need to here and just spam plasma. As you can see, they're starting to push in and peek around both sides of the pillar. It all kind of comes down to RNG on the Pinky pathing. If the Pinkies manage to clog up the Revenants and prevent the Revenants from pushing in on you early, then you're safe, basically. So now just got to clean up the last couple of chain gunners on these pillars, and there's one final archvile behind that last pillar that we need to kill. He always manages to resurrect that perch chain gunner, unfortunately, but doesn't really matter too much. Let's clear out these guys before we hit the switch. When we hit the next switch, the wall to our right will lower and the Cyberdemons will appear, so we want to kill these guys first. Filling up on rockets first. I just like to hide here so that the Cybers can't see me. Just until the lift raises. I don't think there's a way to get onto that lift while it's raising. I think the switch is too far away. But so pre-fire 2 rockets here to hit the second arachnotron, then work to kill the arachnotrons. You can, as you can see, there's rockets going past. You can get sniped by the Cybers here, and there's pain elemental and 2 vials. It can be a little bit tricky. Thankfully, the vials are both deaf, so you can activate them when you want. Alright, so once that's done, we'll jump back out. We'll refill on ammo and health as well. And I'm doing a couple of loops there so that hopefully I don't run back into a cyber rocket. Unfortunately, I missed that lift. There's lifts on both sides of the arena, and they both, like you can activate one and it'll lower both. The plan was to hit the far lift and run back just in time to be able to catch the lift I needed, but I was a little bit slow because I refilled on cells. So I like to hopefully get the cyber infighting with the Revenants here, keep them distracted. It's kind of just a little bit of U-strafing on this side of the arena. Take out these PEs. There's, I think, 2 or 3 maybe that spawn there, and a couple other ones that spawn in, that come out of the closets. And yeah, eventually you'll be able to just start circling. The only real danger is if you kind of get nudged off and fall into the blood pit. You're pretty screwed if you fall down there and get trapped in between Revenants and the Cyber, duking out. Hopefully got a little bit lucky there. Once it's mostly under control, I'm going to start working on the Revenants in the cages. Try and clear them out. You really just need to just be constantly moving in this fight. The only serious danger, at least once you're down at this point, is eating a rocket from one of the Cybers that are still in that starting arena. Now, I probably could have taken a Mega here, but just in case the next fight goes really badly, I want to wait until I finish this fight, take a Mega, and then I've got a spare one to fall back on if I need it. And there's 2 vials in this kind of back corner section. need to clear out. I'll just grab the rad suit for it. You don't absolutely need the rad suit, but you don't need it for the next fight either, so may as well grab it now. Alright, so we're done with this area, and we are very close to finally getting rid of those cybers in the middle, which is going to be quite nice. Thankfully, the cybers in the middle kind of cease to be a problem now. They're not able to hit you in this fight. At least I've never never had them hit me in this fight, so I just kind of completely ignore them. Like to, on this fight, stand as close to the back wall as I possibly can, just so that I'm out of range of the vials. You're only just out of range of the vials at the very back of the room here, so if you step, like at the moment for example, I'm in range of the vials, you just kind of have to hope that they're not targeting you, but obviously that you can't always be at the very far back of the room just because you have to play with the sibes and dodge their rockets, or not dodge them as you saw there. So now we need to work down the 4 vials in the cages, and there's also 2 trap vials that we need to kill before we can move on. And so that's the first one. Need to be careful when you try and dodge there, not to dodge too far left and put yourself back in line of sight of the vials. Alright, so now those cybers are going to start getting crushed. You do have a window that kind of opens up in this room so that the cybers now have a chance to kill you. So even though they're being crushed, you do need to be a little bit aware of where they are, or where you are at least. If you stay kind of at the front of the room, then there's not too much risk of them hitting you. Unfortunately, that pain elemental managed to sneak up over the edge and release a few lost souls. I don't really like this because I'm a little bit worried about, as you can see, face rocketing myself. But yeah, we've got the mega there, and we've also got a spare one in the previous room, so it's not too big of a risk. Usually you're just able to clear out all these guys before they even poke their heads up above the wall, but always a little bit of RNG involved. Yeah, as you can see, I nearly ate one of the rockets from that cyber. I heard some monster down below, which I decided to jump down and kill. My plan originally was to just come back to this first arena once I'd cleared the end fight and I had the BFG. But given that the cyber's in fort with the revenants up on the cliff, I just decided to drop down and do it now, so I wouldn't have to backtrack at all. The main reason I was going to come back later is just so that I had plenty of ammo to clear out those revs, but with them dead, I don't need to worry about it. So we drop down here and get ready to... There's 2 fights you can choose to do. Both of them have BFG. You can do them whichever order you like. I go for the easier one first, purely because there's only 1 archvile in my way and I can easily run around him. The other one has 2 archviles in front of the door and they can block you in a little bit. So run in, grab the BFG. And there's quite a lot of archviles in these side cubbies here. I try and be just as aggressive as I possibly can on them. Most of the ones in the back will be busy infighting with chain gunners, so you can pretty comfortably just kind of go aggressive on them. And then it's just a whole horde of barons and hell knights. Originally my plan was to leave this fight early, basically once I'd killed all the vials. This is probably one of the bigger parts of time save that I can think of in the route. If you were to just leave this room now, you could... There's a couple of advantages to it. Number one, you're not sitting here rocketing these guys down, and number two, you can use them to infight in a later fight coming up. But I found it a little bit inconsistent. They do... they do restrict your movement a little bit in the subsequent fight that comes up a little bit later. And once I'm at that fight, I kind of just want to get past it. Once you're at that point, most of the really tough parts of the map are done. So yeah, I just wanted to clear these guys out so I'd have a higher chance of getting an exit. I mean, there's already plenty of time save available over the existing record, so small little optimizations like this I wasn't terribly worried about. Anyway, just gotta clear the rest of these guys up. I could use a little bit of cells here, but I want to take a full stack into the next fight. The next fight, as I said, is one of the more dangerous fights, or at least it's one of the ones that has me the most worried. So I want to try and give myself the biggest chance of success as I can. So hit this switch, and that lets these vials in. Important to hit that switch second. There's one switch on the other end of the map, or the other end of the room rather, that you can hit. You can hit them in either order. It's important, in my opinion, to hit the switch close to the door second, so that you can immediately just rush out and kill the vials. Otherwise, they'll get a chance to resurrect a bunch of the barons that you just spent a whole bunch of effort in rocketing down. Alrighty, so this room, there's a kind of false floor that kind of leads down into the middle of the room. The part surrounded by candles. The part in the middle is damaging floor, so you want to stay off if you can. I like to try and clear this first cyber out ASAP. You have not unlimited cells in this fight, but you've got quite a lot. And there's another couple of cybers that get released later on in the fight, so I just kind of like to try and kill him as quickly as possible, remove any chance that that he manages to rocket me. There's quite a decent chance that you get blocked by infinite height here if you're not paying attention, so yeah, I just like to remove some risk early on in the fight, so that when situations like that happen, you know, if there was a second cyber in the room when that guy was around, then I could have been in real trouble. So once the third door opens up and you've got a chance, I push in to the section there and just clear out those vials. You don't want them waking up at a time when you're not ready for them. Let's kill that second cyber once I know that the third one's out, and then just kind of run around a little bit. There's some chain gunners in a window inside that section. I probably should have killed them sooner, but yeah, they managed to do quite a fair bit of damage to me. So now I just decide to push in and try and kill this guy. Don't quite have enough cells. Run up and grab the second secret, which is a megasphere there. And trying to clear out some of these lost souls. I'm very worried at the moment that the lost souls are gonna block me in and cause me to get rocketed by that cyber. Thankfully, they played nice. And so just refilling on ammo. I think I forgot that I didn't pick up any of the ammo that's on top of the BFG. There's quite a decent bit there that I could have taken, but as I said, this next fight has nearly infinite cells available to you, so it didn't really end up mattering too much in the end. I like to clear that vial out before I hit this next switch, just because the fight starts up as soon as you hit that first switch. And you want to hit the second switch ASAP, because that's what allows you to go back into this previous room, and allows you to have kind of as much room as you need. Now, as I said, there's nearly infinite cells here, but you do need to be a little bit careful you don't get trapped in a position where you don't have any easy access to them. There's also a lot of deaf vials kind of in between doorways here, so you need to be a little bit careful when you're waking those guys up, that you're ready for them, because if they get stuck in the middle of the crowd, number one, they'll obviously resurrect a bunch, but number two, they can easily surprise you when you're not ready. And it's just kind of a matter of doing one big U-strafe between these two rooms, letting the Cybers and the Hell Knights and the Revs all infight as much as they can. Still like to use rockets and occasionally in situations like that, just when I want to try and keep my distance. You have quite a lot of megas around here, but they're not all easily accessible, so you do need to be a little bit conscious of which ones you're taking, which ones you've got left available to you. More window chain gunners as well that you need to worry about. If you think you've killed them all, double check, because you probably haven't, and there'll probably be one that will shred you. Alright, so now that the numbers are lowered sufficiently, I can start spamming cells now that I don't have to worry about saving cells for like a push through somewhere. As I said, always got to be sure. Got myself locked by a pillar there, but thankfully there was a spare mega right next to me. I don't know that this is the best place to clear these vials from. I'm sure there's probably a better spot, but I couldn't really think of anything in the moment, so... Looking around to make sure I've woken up all the vials in their little cubbies. Bring out the rest of these guys as well. And pretty much on to the penultimate fight. It's just a small little engagement with a few Cybers. Try and kill these first two ones as quick as I can. There's a couple of caged archviles in their cubby, and I like to clear them out before the next lot of Cybers wakes up. About midway through the phase where you're killing this guy, another two will spawn in behind you that you've got to be ready for. If you take too long to kill the solo Cyb in the walls, then you can get very badly surprised by these two guys. And you do need to be a little bit conscious of ammo here as well. I end up running out right towards the end. Thankfully all of them end up being quite well damaged, but you don't want to find yourself in a situation where you need to run in and grab those cells right in front of the Cybers, because you could easily eat a rocket doing that. But, thankfully all these guys died of super shotgun without too much trouble. Alright, just need to restock on cells and ready to go to the final arena. So the final arena is it's kind of one big long engagement with three wings that you tackle when you're done with the main part of the fight. First thing you need to do is platform up here, which I fail miserably at quite a few times. This is honestly pretty easy platforming, but nerves were definitely kicking in by the time I got here. This was the first time that I got to the finale, and I knew I had a good strat for it, so I was pretty confident when I got to this point that I had an exit in me, but yeah, nerves definitely did get the better of me towards the end. Yep. The unhappy mouse wiggle and punch in the air. It's the universal language of Doom players, I think. Tragic. Thankfully, you don't need too much health for the first part of the next fight. There's a megasphere up there that basically becomes inaccessible once you drop down from that kind of central platform. So yeah, you don't need to worry too much about how much health you have, or most of the time you don't. Also get a bit of a music change as well when we move up here. Now I go to that edge of the platform just to wake up. There's a whole bunch of vials in the one of the rooms that opens up on our right. And yes, unfortunately I get knocked down. I think I practiced this fight probably, or at least the start of this fight, probably 10-15 times, just because I was a little bit concerned about my strategy after dropping down, but I ended up developing what I thought was a very, very good, very consistent strategy. Unfortunately, that strategy relies on me being able to kill those vials up top before dropping down, which unfortunately I didn't do here. So I'm kind of panicking a little bit at the moment and improvising. This is similar to the movements that I make in my intended strategy. The main difference is that if everything goes to plan, initially I will drop down and try and bait. There's a big group of Cyberdemons that spawns kind of on the other side of the arena, and my plan is to bait all of them to infight with nearly all of the Archviles and kind of take the Archviles out of the equation in terms of posing any danger to you. Unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to do that, so a lot of the Archviles end up being angry with me, and I need to snipe them at various times through the fight. It also means that my timing is a little bit off in terms of when I'm running around the arena. I don't exactly know what to expect in terms of where the monsters are going to be. With the strategy that I had previously, or my intended strategy at least, I was very sure exactly where most of the monsters would be as I was moving around the arena. But yeah, as I said, I have to play a little bit by ear here, and just try and work out a strategy on the fly. But thankfully, once I'm at this point, most of the danger has gone. A lot of the Cyberdemons will now be infighting with the big Caco cloud that spawns out of that opening in the wall that you can see in front of me. And that should keep those guys mostly clear of me. And I'm just basically going to be doing a big, very wide U strafe as I try and clear out most of the Cacos and Pain Elementals. Lost Souls are a big problem in this arena. I don't exactly know how many Pain Elementals there are, but it's enough that you're going to be dealing with Lost Souls pretty much throughout the entire fight. So the more that you can kill early, the better it's going to be. I like to try and clear out the, I think there's 4 vials that spawn on that chain gunner kind of pillar in the middle there. I like to clear them out as early as I can, just because the chain gunners love to shred you from distance. Bit worried when that vial started targeting me there. There's kind of towers with, I think, 4 or 5 vials in them each. I was very worried that I was getting targeted by 2 vials and was going to die at that point, but yeah, I got quite lucky that there was only one of them. I don't think I mentioned it, but there's kind of teleporter line defs all around the central column that teleport enemies kind of into either corner of the map. So that's why you're seeing enemies down, like, you know, this section of the map and also around the other side. They just get teleported there. So it's, I think, just intended so that you can't camp on one in one corner. Although it doesn't do a great job. You can definitely camp in one of these corners for a while. Obviously, you're limited in terms of the amount of health and ammo that you've got available to you, but yeah, if you want to play this a lot slower, not constantly going back from side to side, then yeah, it's a lot safer. But I want to keep going back and forth between each side just to make sure that infighting is going on quite well, and also taking the opportunity to snipe any, you know, rogue vials that I see floating around. You do have to be very conscious of infinite height in this arena. Anytime you've got an arena with very tall ceilings and a lot of flying enemies, it's always going to be a problem. You need to kind of pre-plan what path you're going to take. If you're ever going to be, you know, if you think you need to run through a group of flying enemies, you need to be thinking about that, you know, at least 5 seconds before you even get close to them, because by the time you're under them, you won't be able to see them. So you kind of need to be thinking about, okay, what are their movements likely going to be like? How are they likely going to shift between now and when I get under them? That sort of thing. So the room that we're in at the moment, this is kind of one of the 3 extra little wings that we need to tackle before we can finish off. The other one's the area that you can see in front with all the mancubi. You have to do those 2 first, and then you can tackle the platform over to the right with all the arachnotrons on it. That's the final place you can go. It's not super worth clearing out too many of the mancubi before you're actually ready to go into that fight. Namely because there's some archviles that will wake up and start resurrecting a lot of the mancubi that are on the lower level, and they're the ones that you can get effective damage onto. It's not complete wasted effort, but you know, you're generally better off, at least from a speed perspective, clearing out most of the flying enemies as quickly as you can. Also getting to the point now where Cyberdemons are starting to become a bit of a danger again. Obviously a lot of them have died now, but so have all the cacos and revenants that they were infighting with. So now a lot of them are going to be angry at you. So this is the point where I start to try and focus some of them down. Still kind of prioritizing the flying enemies, especially if I see a large group of lost souls. I want to try and clear them out. But yeah, if I run into a situation like that where I see a Cyberdemon fighting something else, I'll just try and clear him off before I move on. So now that we've got most of the outdoor area clear, I like to move in here and start working on this room first. The reason for that is that this room is protected effectively. You've got walls, I mean, not everywhere, but there's enough walls to keep you shielded from the random cybers that might still be floating around. That also means that you're out of line of sight of enemies for the most part, so they'll tend to come towards you, as opposed to in the other, the Mancubus wing, you're pretty open, and if there's cybers in the open, they can snipe you quite easily. If there's cacos floating around, instead of running towards you, they'll just be shooting you, so they'll take a long time to get to you. Whereas in this kind of, I think of it as a platforming wing, the enemies tend to just kind of group up against the outside walls, and then you can easily, number one, it's safer because you're not, as I said, at risk of getting a random Cyberdemon sniping you out of nowhere. But number two, you can then kill stuff easier because they group up for you outside. So. This is another area I said earlier that this map does a very good job at making you fight things from low ground, and this room is another really good example. Your initial inclination is to use rockets because you don't get very effective tracer damage with BFG from this height, but then Lost Souls show up, and all of a sudden you start getting very concerned about potentially face rocketing yourself. So yeah, I kind of flip back and forth between the BFG and the rocket launcher here. I mean, the BFG, as I said, you don't get very effective damage, but you're also not at risk of killing yourself. I don't think there's really any value in trying to push up the platforms and clearing stuff from up top, although it might seem attractive in terms of getting good damage out. You've got no cover up there, and you're dealing with both Archviles and Revenants, so you're just going to have to be dropping down and midway through anyway, so I'll just clear everything from down the bottom. And I'm just going to I want to grab a Mega before I go up those stairs, because we've got 3 Cyberdemons that we need to kill up top, and I don't want to be doing that when I'm, when a single direct rocket hit would kill me. I also decided to kill this Cyberdemon. I think he teleported over to the other, that other corner of the map. I don't want him sniping me while I'm doing this platforming. For some reason, I managed to do this platforming first time. This platforming gave me a lot more trouble than the platforming at the start of this fight. But for whatever reason, the starting platforming gave me plenty of trouble this time, and this one gave me no issues whatsoever. So I guess I've managed to work my nerves down by now. Honestly, once I'm at this point, I'm extremely confident that I should be able to get an exit. So I guess that's why the nerves are down quite low at the moment. And as you can see, we've still got a couple of Archviles up in that middle pillar, which concerns me. At the moment, I'm not 100% certain that I'm going to be able to kill those guys later. But I'm just deciding to focus on clearing the rest of the fight and worrying about those guys once I've finished everything else off. Obviously, the fact that you're watching this video means that I was able to kill them, but as I said, this never happened to me in practice before, and I wasn't sure if there was going to be any way to get back up to that central platform. So yeah, that was in the back of my mind pretty much throughout the rest of this fight. Didn't really 100% need a Mega here, but once you go up this lift, you're trapped into this section and you've got limited health available to you. Unfortunately, the front vial managed to get out behind me, which means I had to split damage. I couldn't just focus on the ones in the cubby, and I took a couple of zaps as a result. So I refill on cells and pick up this sneaky hidden rad suit. It's 20 damaging floor that I'm on at the moment, so having a rad suit is pretty important. A couple of the higher levels don't have as much damaging floor, so you can kind of avoid it as you go further up. But, So we just got this cyber. He spawns when we go up this lift, so you can't kill him from down low, unless you drop down, but believe me, that was unintentional. I'm a little bit worried at this point that he might have a rocket ready for me as I get back up top, but I think he struggles to path down towards the lift. I'm going to rad suit now, so we're trying to stay on the red brick where I can. Still have 1 mega left, but I don't want to take it before I need to. There's, I think, 4 archviles that spawn up there as you get like halfway along this level of the platform. And as you can see, with these cacos pushing in, this is pretty much why I didn't want to do this area first, like before the platforming wing that I did before. If you've got too many cacos left alive, there's a good chance that they'll cause some serious stress for you as you're trying to push up here and focus on the mags. Be careful of that cyber. Once you get up to this section, cyber pretty much can't hit you. Again, this is one of those situations where you're having to fight from the low ground, so I always try and keep the cyber just at the very top of my screen so I can just barely see him. And most of the time the cyber won't hit you, but yeah, I still like to have him on screen so that I don't have a rocket volley appear out of nowhere. At least gives me a chance to dodge. Alrighty, so with that switch hit, we're now finally ready to tackle the arachnotron wing, which is kind of the final section that we need to hit before we can go to the exit. And we've just got a few cacos that managed to fly over here and get stuck that we want to clear out first. Quite a large rev rocket trail behind me as well, which I'm a bit worried about. I think there's probably enough there that I'd die even from full health. So I just killed this first archvile, and then I go up and BFG down the spider mastermind that's on this first pillar. And after I kill this guy, I just like to push down the right hand side of the wall here. There's a whole bunch of cybers that will spawn as you cross various different line defs, along with the walls you can see lowering there. I just like to let everything spawn, and I drop down and just let it all infight. And while it's infighting, I'll just clear up this wall. Again, this is a situation where you don't get great effectiveness from the BFG traces, but I think it's probably still better than rocking them all down. You'd probably kill the archviles quicker with rockets if you were to use rockets there, but you wouldn't kill any of the revenants, and you'd probably spend more time overall, I think. Alrighty, so once they're all dead, now time to go back up. And you can kind of take it as slow as you want here. There's no major need to rush at this point. Unless you make a seriously silly mistake, you really shouldn't die here. Once I know that that Cyber's interested in the arachnotrons, I'll push forward and start clearing up the spider masterminds. Most of the masterminds won't be able to hit you, like from where they are. But yeah, you still want to kill them sooner rather than later. They can shred you if you get into a bad position. I really like to get one of the Cybers infighting with that wall of Revenants at the back. They're just a real annoyance, those Revs, so getting one of the Cybers infighting with them is quite useful. You do also need to be very conscious of the fact that there is still archviles on the walls to your right, and either hug the wall to your right or kill the vials with a little chance of zapping you. Also, still need to be keeping one eye on the Cybers, because at any point they can decide that they're done infighting and turn on you. And seeing that most of the wall of Revenants is dead, I just decided to kill that Cyber. All of your cell pickups are back up on those pillars as well, so you need to kind of try and remember which ones you've taken, otherwise you'll lower a lift and find there's nothing there. Just want to clear these revs off so that I can kill this archvile and arachnotron in peace. Unfortunately, I missed one of the revs. And yeah, you just need to make sure you're continuing to move constantly, because you'll be getting rockets fired at you from those Cybers constantly. Alrighty, time to start working down these Cybers. The last guy takes a little while to die. Try, if we can, to get our BFG ball hitting those vials and kill them first. I'm going to catch a zap from the Archvile and the Hell Knight platform. That combined with some shots from the Spider Mastermind, I decided to back off and fill up on health. Although I forget which pillar still has a Megasphere left on it, so waste a bit of time. Alright, so I'm gonna go for this Spider Mastermind before I work down the vials, just because he can kill you when you're trying to clear these vials, whereas you can line of sight yourself pretty comfortably from the other Spider Mastermind. Fail some more platforming for good measure. Alrighty, so the only 3 kills we've got left now are these Archviles. And this is when I started to worry. I noticed that the platform that was meant to let you, or that you originally used to platform up, had lowered. I think that's an anti-cheese strat just to prevent you from going back up the platform again. But thankfully, this little lift, which is designed to allow you to kill some Romero heads, it's high enough that I was able to platform over to the center pillar again. But yes, I was very worried at that point. It's a matter of rocking the Romero head and we're done. So overall I enjoyed this map a ton. The first 5 minutes or so is very annoying to play repeatedly when grinding out a demo, but basically every other fight in the map is great. None of them are too tough on their own, but stringing everything together into one attempt certainly ratchets up the difficulty a fair bit. Anyway, thanks everyone for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Later.